wanted to say just a little bit about the who am I of this panel. It may be hard for you to believe, but Deepak is the magnet that has attracted all three of us. We actually do know each other, and we work together in some capacity. Dr. Paul Mills is a professor at the University of San Diego in California of public health and family medicine, and also the lead researcher for the Chopra Foundation and some of the amazing initiatives that are going on there. Poonacha Machaiah is we call him a purposeful technologist. He's been in technology for over 20 years, and he and Deepak have co-founded a mobile platform for well-being called JIYA, and you'll hear more about that. And I have the opportunity of serving on the board of the Chopra Foundation, and I was also a subject in one of Deepak's, I want to call it a crazy experiment, but it wasn't crazy at all. It was really about the future of well-being and what we're going to talk about tonight. So again, thank you for that meditation that's grounded and rooted us here in this space. The what do we want about this panel is really to serve this group here and to create a paradigm shift in the way that you all think about health and well-being. We all are here to serve, and we are all very grateful to be here. Just to answer those questions really quickly. To start the panel, I wanted to ask Deepak to define well-being for us. There's so many different ways we can look at it, and Deepak Chopra has been one of the people that have been working in this field for over 50, well, you're not that old, right? 40 years. Okay.
Okay. So when I was in medical school, the WHO came out, and this is a long time ago, by the way. The WHO came out with their statement that health is not just the absence of a disease or infirmity, but a state of physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. And that was almost 40 years ago. And since then, people have looked at well-being in many, you might say, buckets. So first they look at physical well-being. And physical well-being means you don't have any illness, but you also enjoy the four intentions we had said. A joyful, energetic body, love and compassion in your heart, reflective, unstressed mind, alert, and lightness of being or lightness of soul. Those four intentions actually capture the essence of well-being. The 5 pillars of well-being that everybody agrees on are the following. Sleep. Sleep is when your body renews itself, and we know that 70% of people in our country and in the Western world take some kind of a tranquilizer or sleeping pill to go to sleep. I remember when I was a resident one night, I woke up and I saw my nurse was waking up a patient. Mr. Smith, will you please wake up? I have to give you your sleeping pill. So I went to her and I said, you're waking him up to give him a sleeping pill? She said, yes, because I know he'll wake up soon, and then he'll wake me, and then he'll wake you up. I'll wake you up. So I said, go ahead, give him the sleeping pill. That's how we were trained. But sleep is a very important component of well-being, much overlooked. Your body renews itself, both physically and during the dream state. Also, stresses are released during the dream state. Second pillar of well-being is stress management, and we think meditation is the best way, whichever form of meditation you prefer or you like. The third is movement, and movement includes physical movement and aerobic competency, but in our case we also emphasize yogasanas and pranayam because the yogasanas have very specific effects. The word asana actually means a seat of consciousness. So as we practice the asanas, our consciousness evolves too. And the pranayam, the breathing techniques, they stimulate the vagus nerve. They have many effects on our biology. We can see how that affects everything from our heart rate variability to our brain waves to what happens in the microbiome to the traffic from the gut to the brain in terms of peptides or proteins that regulate our moods, modulate our immune system. I could go on and on about that, but yoga, pranayam, movement is the third pillar. The fourth pillar is emotions. So when you have joy and love and compassion and empathy and equanimity, which are called divine emotions, then your body goes into a state of homeostasis or self-regulation. So that's the fourth pillar. And the fifth pillar is nutrition. Our food now is so poisoned with pesticides, insecticides, contaminants of all kinds, refined, processed, antibiotics, hormones, steroids, you name it. It's like putting napalm into your body. The same stuff that was used to kill in Vietnam is now in our food, petroleum products. So we need to really pay attention to what we put in our body, what comes from nature. So those are the 5 pillars of physical well-being. We could go on and on about those and many others, but we have a panel here. I just want to mention there's also social well-being, community well-being, career well-being, financial well-being, and and spiritual well-being. And they're all inseparably linked to each other. So I'll stop here for the moment.
Thank you. Thank you. I was wondering how I was ever going to stop Deepak Chopra, but he's making it easy on me. But Deepak, if you could give us a one-word summation of the idea of well-being, what would be the first thing that popped into your mind? One word.
One word.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it depends. A lot of people say for me it's stopping smoking or, losing weight. For me, personally, flow, the state of flow.
Flow, I like that.
Ease, lightness of being. No anticipation, no regrets, no resistance, just this moment as it is.
Yeah, can you guys feel that sensation coming from Deepak? It's when I hang out with him, I just feel that sense of flow. So I want to let you know that you too can have that sensation. What are some words that come to mind for you guys in the audience about what is well-being and where we're at now? Does anybody brave enough to just shout out balance, freedom, love, wellness, justice, happiness, thoughtfulness, gratitude, joy. Oh, yes. Consciousness. Wow. Beautiful. I want to direct this same question to Paul Mills. We were talking a little bit earlier about this panel, and both of us agreed that the future of well-being and wellness has a lot to do with empowerment of the person. Do you want to expound on that a little bit?
Thanks, Deepak. We're in the flow.
They're really close anyway, so.
We're in the flow. So,
That cute.
gratitude was a word just mentioned, and Deepak used that word as a question. Closer. So, I'll speak with you better.
You have to
I'll speak with you a
really
little bit
get
about
into it.
gratitude and well-being, and this is in the context of some research that we've been doing at the University of California, San Diego, and also in collaboration with the Chopra Foundation. So I've been working for many years in an area called behavioral cardiology, which is interested in relationships of behavior and mood to the health of patients who have cardiovascular disease. For many, many years in this field, the focus was on more negative attributes, such as stress and depression and those sorts of factors, and anxiety. The last number of years, there's been a movement towards positive psychology or positive psychiatry, including gratitude, empathy, compassion, and love. Well, we've just been wrapping up some research, and we find that those patients who have more gratitude they're happier, they have less depressed mood, they sleep better, they manage their medication better, and they have much lower levels of inflammation in their body, inflammation related to cardiac well-being. We've also just wrapped up some intervention studies where we had the patients journal about gratitude for a couple of months, and this even pushed their biological and mood markers to even greater states of wellness and well-being. So I'll leave it at that for now.
That's beautiful. So the idea of gratitude and the empowerment of the patient and the old model, I think, being that there's not a lot of power in being the patient, and we're shifting that model. And we'll move to Poonacha over here to my right, purposeful technologist. I would like you to answer the question about technology and well-being, and where do you see that nexus and synergy?
So I think Deepak articulated the vision for well-being. Paul Mills talked about the research behind well-being. I think for me, the human beings, today we have 7 billion people on this earth. human biomass today is 100 times greater than any large species to this time. So I think today we have ushered in the era of man, right? But fundamentally, there are three problems. Instinctively, we still have a very primitive fight, flight, very short-term reward mechanism. We have a very fine-tuned brain that is streamlined for everyday activities, which is called habits. And the third one is that we are dominated by a very affluent, culture-driven, market-driven behavior. So I think my goal, or what I look at in well-being, is that how do we use, knowing these three parameters, how do we use technology in intervention? How do we use technology for behavior change? How do we get people to sleep better? How do you get people to detect they are stressed and de-stress them? How do you get people to eat better, give them healthy choices? How do you get people to connect with each other, emotions? So goal for us in technology and well-being is to enable the 5 things Deepak has articulated. And today I think we are at the time when technology can actually deliver that promise.
Wonderful. The topic tonight is the future of well-being and dignity, equality, and the pursuit of healthiness. So how do we democratize well-being, Deepak?
We by the way, today, in today's San Francisco Chronicle and Huffington Post, we have an op-ed where several people have articulated their views. I'm only one of the authors, but there are many professors. Paul's on the article as a co-author. It's about how we can reduce our healthcare costs by 80 to 90% just by empowering ourselves. Because we don't have a healthcare system, we have a disease care system. And we are really not taking responsibility for our health and making it fun. So what was your question?
How do we, it was a great answer. It's how do we democratize well-being for the masses?
Make it easily available, free of charge, all these techniques, which is one of the things we're going to do. Secondly, give people the tools. Give them not only information, but give them information that's relevant to them. Personalize the content that you're going to deliver through the internet, through the iPhones, through a social network. So give them as much information that's relevant to them, free of charge. Engage them in reward mechanism. Connect them with other people who have the same goals. So create a social network, create physical space like we want to in Aspen, to create a physical space, the city of well-being, but also, and you can talk about that, but also help them socially engage to encourage each other, because there's data that if you want to lose weight, if you want to give up smoking, if you want to do yoga, if you want to meditate, you engage with people who are like you, who want to do the same thing. Social networks, physical space, content. Technology, offer the best technology. For some people, this is exciting. I'm all wired up right now with all kinds of technology that can look at your heart waves, your brain waves, etc. Jeff Walker introduced us to a technology called Muse, which looks at your brain waves, allows you to look at them on your phone and change them through mindfulness or other practices or through breathing. So technology. And finally, metrics. You have to be able to measure every single thing that you do, because once you see the change, then you say, okay, it's working. And once you start with yourself, engage your friends with it, create communities with it, this is the key to not only personal transformation, but planetary transformation, so that we can all move in the direction of a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and happier world.
We can all get behind that, right? Yeah, let's give a round of applause for that bold goal. At the Chopra Foundation, the mission is to affect the consciousness of over 1 billion people in the next couple of years, right?
Yeah, we believe in SMART goals, and that's an acronym. Stretch more than you can reach. S. M. Measure everything that you can possibly measure. A. Agree on the common vision that we have. It's not my vision or your vision, it's our vision. And when we have a shared vision, when we connect emotionally and spiritually together, and we complement each other's strengths, because I may have certain strengths and I don't have the strengths that you have. When we complement each other's strengths, we can achieve anything. So agree on what is to be achieved, record your progress, and set a time limit.
That's exactly what we're going to do here with the Aspen City of Wellbeing initiative. So you all stay tuned for that. Poonacha, I'd love for you to touch on that same question about democratizing well-being in relationship to the platform that you've created, JIYA.
So I think quickly, how many people here do not own a mobile phone? Put your hands up, please. Excellent. I think that kind of answers your question. How do you democratize, well-being? I think Deepak mentioned we basically have to make it available at your home, at work, at play, on the road. The one device which is with you all the time, you might forget your wallet, you might just not go back, but if you forget your phone, you will go back and get it, right? So the mobile phone actually today is so powerful that it actually understands the time you went to bed, the time you wake up, who you spoke to, what was the weather change. So imagine I landed up from LA to here, and my mobile phone says, Poonacha, right now the altitude is 8,000 feet. I recommend that you drink a lot of water, go to sleep early, adjust your clock, and by the way, tomorrow morning, check before you go out running, which I don't, I should. Before you go out running, use sunblock because the UV index is high in this area. The mobile phone today can become your trusted companion. And the best thing about the mobile phone, if you enable it with the right content, with the right activities, and with the right technology, can truly serve the underserved, connect the unconnected, right? So it's not elitist, it can really reach 1 billion people. I think our goal is to use the mobile phone and the plethora of technology, which is the quantified self movement, which is the Muse, the Fitbits, the iWatches, which are kind of upside to add more value.
Wonderful. And Paul, from a data standpoint, I know you spend a lot of time analyzing data. So what I'm curious about, he's analyzed my own data, I think. So that's pretty personal stuff, but it's all for the pursuit of greater connection with our health and well-being. I would like to know what has surprised you in the data that you have researched in this arena of well-being, talking about health and some of the things that we've done with the Chopra Foundation. Can you touch on that?
Absolutely. So at the Chopra Foundation, we've just wrapped up a couple of large studies looking at different practices of well-being. Yes, yoga and meditation, but also specific diets to strengthen the body and the immune system. And we're just starting to look at some of the outcome data on that. One of the most interesting ones we've had so far, how many of you here have heard of the leaky gut syndrome? So great, so many of you. So this is a phenomenon where some of the digestive peptides from our GI system leak out into our general circulation. And there they cause lots of secondary inflammation. For example, one of the theories is that they digest the insulin receptors throughout your body, and that helps lead to insulin resistance and potentially diabetes. So we're finding that switching the diet to some of these more traditional systems greatly reduces the protease activity that leaks out into the general circulation. So that's one of the things we're doing. More broadly, if I can say about the future of well-being in terms of the medical system, a lot of the academic medical centers now are creating what are called centers for integrative medicine. And within these centers, they're offering and teaching patients meditation. You can get acupuncture, those sorts of things, massage. So this is a form of empowerment to make sure the folks who are coming into that system, which, yes, does focus on disease and symptomatology, can begin to teach people practices to begin to empower themselves to take their own health. And
that's exciting. Deepak, let's go on a time travel and come to the year 2050. What is the world like, and what does well-being mean in 2050? Where are we at?
I think I would like to introduce a term, a new phrase, radical well-being, which means extraordinary well-being, way beyond what we think is possible. Think of an Olympic gymnast or Olympic marathon runner or an Olympic acrobat. They are way beyond anything that we see normally. We know people who have the same kind of gold medal standard for well-being. Now, what we also know is only 5% of disease-related gene mutations are fully penetrant, which means you can't stop them. I often give the example of the gene for breast cancer that Angelina Jolie had. Or there are some genes that are fully penetrant for some kinds of cancer, some kinds of leukemia, or some genes that are fully penetrant for Alzheimer's. But they are 5%. 95% of your genes are under what is called epigenetic influence, which means that their activity can be influenced by the things I mentioned: sleep, stress management, healthy relationships, exercise, yoga, etc. Which means theoretically that we can influence 95% of illness. We also know that if you reduce inflammation and upregulate the genes that are responsible for what we call homeostasis, self-regulation, and downregulate the genes that are responsible for inflammation, then you not only can prevent illnesses, but you can actually cure illnesses. Dean Ornish led the movement by showing that we could reverse heart disease. But now we know that this is true of many types. Think of anything that ends with an itis: arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, bronchitis. Itis is inflammation. Okay, when you reduce inflammation, then you can get rid of those diseases. Asthma is a disease associated with inflammation, rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's disease. So now we know for sure that if you change the gene expression, you can not only prevent these diseases, you can cure them through all the things I mentioned. Recently, there's been some very interesting information on the vagus nerve and how it goes to your heart, and then the vagus nerve is also called the vagabond nerve because it travels everywhere. It influences your microbiome. It causes your normal bacteria to become probiotics if you use the right breathing techniques. And so, or even yoga, there are certain postures that stimulate the vagus nerve that will change the microbiome, decrease inflammation. So all this, probiotics, nutritional supplements that change. This, if we pay attention to this, we know from data that people don't die of old age. They do. If they live to be 120 years, then your biological clock stops at that time because there's an enzyme called telomerase and telomere which shrinks to a certain level. So there is programmed cellular death at some level. But most people die of a disease. They die of heart disease, they die of cancer, they die of some stroke or something like that. If we can prevent these, then we can see an extension of lifespan by 20 to 30 years of people living in good health and to a great age. So you have the wisdom of experience and the biology of youth. And your elders become actually the caretakers of society. They are not a burden. They are the ones that we look up to with reverence to teach us what they learned from their experience. In many cultures, that's true already, that as you grow older, you're considered wiser and therefore more responsible. And in those cultures, actually, people live to a great, wise old age. There's the tradition, at least in some wisdom traditions, where people at a ripe old age, they think now they've been there, done that, and they enter into what is called Mahasamadhi, which is the big meditation. They say goodbye to everyone, thank everyone, go into meditation, and leave. Now that's an elegant way of dying, isn't it? Rather than with a tube down your throat, a pacemaker in your heart, and IVs everywhere. So 2050, radical well-being.
Woohoo! I like the sound of that.
And before that.
And before that. Who thinks they're going to be around in 2050? Anybody out there? Oh, good. That's promising. I encourage you to live into that radical well-being as we all create our own future here. Were any of you here about a year and a half ago when Deepak spoke about self-directed biological transformation? This was at, where were we? Dorhosier at Aspen Institute. Raise your hand if you were there. So a couple of you were there. We went through a study after that, and I was a participant in that study, and Paul Mills is one of the people that's analyzing that data. And I know we don't want to go into that too deeply into what we're finding because we don't have the data published, But my question is more, why do we do these type of studies? For me, as a yogi, as all of us, we meditate. We know this stuff works, and I think if anyone out there does yoga, meditation, healthy diet, you know that that feels good and you feel healthier. But we're spending all this time and money researching things that, frankly, we already know. Why are we doing that?
Well, there's the joy of doing it, actually, for people like myself, scientists who like to ask questions and look at the data. But really, so the SBTI, the Self-Directed Biological Transformation Initiative, was a study on really whole systems medicine, focusing on Ayurveda. For many, many years in the world of complementary alternative medicine, the focus has been on more singular modalities. Let's see what meditation does. Let's see what yoga does. Let's see what diet does. While there's value in all those things, but historically, they were all practiced together. So I would say in terms of the academic world and pursuing research, there's a strong movement towards looking at traditional systems, Ayurveda, traditional Tibetan medicine. And of course, there's been a focus for a number of years on traditional Chinese medicine. So that's the movement. And the research is just to begin to understand why these whole systems are so good for us. Why do they support our well-being? How do they work? And if we understand that in more detail, we might be able to just prop it up even a little bit more.
Can I just add 30 seconds to that? So, when we were doing this research, one of our researchers, he's a very famous researcher from Mount Sinai. He's doing what is called RNA sequencing and then metabolites. So not only are we looking at what happens in meditation to your gene expression, but how that translates into approximately 10,000 proteins that are made every day. And what he said at the end of his speech is he sees that we can have a chemical or genomic signature for meditation. So you take a saliva sample or a blood sample, and you can say this person is meditating by just like looking at their genes. So somebody in the audience said, so now that you've seen this data, are you going to meditate? He said, no, I'm going to figure out how to produce a drug from this. So you see, what we're trying to change is a very huge, big paradigm that even when he sees the data, this very accomplished scientist, he says, I'm going to figure out how to make a drug out of what happens through meditation. And now we are also looking at electronic signatures for well-being. So the future is very bright, but we still have an uphill task with the traditional mechanistic reductionist model.
Yeah. Poonacha, I want to just give us all a chance to kind of wrap up a little bit here. We're going to take your questions in a few minutes. So if you have some questions, start to crystallize the questions, and we will have somebody with a microphone on either side, and we'd like for you to wait till you have a microphone before you ask the question. And we can't really see you, but as long as you can see us, I hope that's okay.
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
Do this,
if you
you
do
can
this, this is how we look, that we can see you. Say hello. Now we see you. So Poonacha, I want to give you a chance to kind of wrap up for the future of well-being or any of the other questions that you didn't get.
I'm going to go down and actually do a quick demo, but I think the most important thing, Deepak mentioned, these are the 5 things. Paul mentioned that this is research to tell you that you should eat well, you should sleep well, you should meditate, but why don't we do this? We see cigarette packets saying that's lung cancer and things like that, but we still haven't really stopped smoking. So our job is to kind of really look at and say, how do we use technology to kind of look at behavior change? Imagine, have you seen the movie Her? H-E-R? The guy, Joaquin Phoenix, falls in love with Samantha. So we believe that we have a Samantha equivalent in well-being. When the digital companion can actually now help you understand what is the cue. Let's take smoking. Cue, I finished a meeting. Typical cues are people, place, time, emotion, right? What is the reward? I want to go relax. What is the routine? I go smoking. What is the craving? Nicotine. So now if I can actually intercept the cue, the mobile phone knows I finished a meeting. There is a pattern when Poonacha goes out and have a smoke. If I can just remind you to be mindful, I intercept that action. So that's how I think we can kind of use technology, look at the research, look at the rational behavior we should follow. How do you make tiny habits to really bring about that purposeful change into well-being? So that's pretty much it.
That's amazing.
Set up.
So Paul, do you want to just wrap up the closing remarks here for you in this future of well-being panel while Poonacha is going to do some stage diving?
Sure. So from my side of being in the research world for many, many years, what what Poonacha is just speaking about is incredibly valuable, because I've been doing research on different types of interventions at our university for many years. We finish the intervention, we show that it has a fantastic effect for this person, that patient, and then they go home because they're out of the study and they no longer do it. The adherence isn't there, and it's easy to understand why, because we get wrapped up in our general life stream. So anything that we can use to help us get those cues and reminders to adhere better would be incredibly valuable. So I see the importance of the intersection of this type of work to help us maintain doing those things we want to do that support our well-being and help stop doing the things we shouldn't be doing. Yep.
And Deepak, I'll ask you to sort of give us a little bit of a closing remark just on the panel of the future of well-being, while Poonacha is setting up a little bit of a demo for you guys.
So we know, we're working on the projector there, please, so we can project
We got
these
somebody
slides.
coming down here, yeah.
We know now from research that if you pay attention to those 5 things, physical well-being, social well-being, community well-being, career well-being, financial well-being, and we add a 6th, spiritual well-being, you can actually correlate that with the future of a person, a community, a city, a country, and in fact the world. And your well-being correlates with things like traffic accidents, hospital admissions, crime rate, social unrest, quality of leadership is all directly linked to your well-being. So the healthier you are, the healthier communities and societies will be. And that's the only way we can ultimately create a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier and happier world. You, as a person, have to take responsibility to be the change that you want to see.
That's beautiful. Let's have a round of applause for our panelists. We are going to do something here that is remarkable and exciting.
Say something about the city of well-being.
Okay. Well, so we had a meeting today on Aspen City of Wellbeing initiative, and many people were there. Is anybody here that was there? Show us your excitement for this wonderful initiative. So we're really working together to create a cohesive platform here in Aspen to be the city of well-being, and I think we'll be on this stage next year talking about that. So we're really excited, and Deepak was talking about that earlier today. So now, without further ado, we need a drum roll.
So you're the first time, I think a year ago, I was here at Aspen Spotlight Health speaking about You Are Not Alone on social networks and how social networks can help well-being. So what we want to share you today is basically, let's say I wanted to kind of be balanced in my life. How can we use technology? And this platform is called JIYA. It's a mobile app which helps you to kind of analyze your day, gives you tiny habits, and just organizes things for you and gives you insight about you, right? So what I'm going to do, let's say the app launches. This is what you call tiny habits. It's given me 5 things to do today. You know what? They wouldn't like. How basically a small tiny action for me to kind of do right now, because I've been on a plane, come back. See, I like it. I actually share it with my friends. It's kind of cool to do that. I come back. It's given me some more things for me to kind of love and passion. Switch your phone off now and talk to your partner. I'll miss you, right? You know what? Sometimes we just forget to talk to people. What if I was just reminded about that? And it tells you what it's about. I say, I like this one. I want to share this with my friend. Okay, that's great. Now what I'm going to do is to say, done, I like this, right? Let me actually say, I love this. Amazing, find a way. So what I'm doing right now is very small, tiny habits that help me organize my day. The second thing is done. It's kind of given me what should my day be like. I get to see all my activities. 2, it tells me what's my journey. Gives me insights about me, right? Tells me something like, Poonacha, this is how much you slept yesterday. Imagine I could go back to the platform and say, on the days I sleep less than 5 hours, these are the kind of people I talk to. This is the amount of time I spent on the road. This was the temperature and UV index on those days. Do you want to make a change, right? So what this becomes is your well-being coach. Typically, when you start looking at content on well-being, you say, you know what, I haven't slept. What if the technology can actually just detect that you have changed 3 time zones? And a very relevant article today is to read about sleep, right? This is basically, so instead of going and spending endless hours searching on the internet, it kind of recommends 5 articles based on what you need to do today. Eat healthy, sleep better, set an intention, exercise, and move, right? Now, let's say you want to kind of just discover and kind of go through. It also curates it for you. So it looks at your day and creates what you call the life event ontology. Looking at your day, so what it does, it kind of plans around you. So all this thing is done automatically. It kind of connects with people like you. People who are 45 years, I'm 45 years old, two busted knees, who is like me. Maybe I find somebody in Chile who runs marathons. You know what? I want to connect with that person. Once I do this, I can then go back and consume content on the platform. This is curated content, which I can now watch and consume, which is, instead of when you search for stress or sleep, you have about 50,000 hits on Google. Where do I start? Right? What is the curated source? So we have taken those 5 aspects, and let's say here's Danielle Mickenagel. She tells you about her channel and what she's doing with well-being. Right? So this is really an example of how we can use technology purposefully to bring about change and well-being. So same thing's available. So what you can do once I'm done with this, you can go to JIYA.com and sign up. And specifically for the City of Wellbeing, the City of Aspen and the Wellbeing Initiative, we're going to work very closely with Gina and the Aspen Yoga Society to make this available. So this is also available on the web. So go to JIYA.com, and if I can double click, that's my profile. It tells me my journey, what I need to do today, the exercises I need to do today. It gives me some insights about me, because I happen to be wearing a Fitbit. I also have a heart mat to help me with my meditation. So what it does, it kind of plugs in, irrespective of what device you use, this becomes your window to well-being, right? So I can switch from an iWatch to a Fitbit to anything else. And then I think I showed you what we can do with JIYA. Here you can actually see a couple of cool things out there. I won't really bore you guys today. I'm sure you have a lot of questions for Deepak and Paul. But what we're really trying to do over here, and we have Gina Murdock with Aspen. So what we're trying to do is to bring influencers, curate content, and really change the paradigm. We've been taught to, I think over the years, that to find anything, go to the internet and search. Go and then start browsing endlessly. 3 o'clock in the morning, you're looking for something. The time has come for technology to adapt to you and give you things around you. And so our goal today is to make that enable that and enable the vision which Deepak started with to bring well-being to 1 billion people. And the only way we believe we can do this using mobile technology. So we welcome, this is right now in beta. We want to work very closely with Aspen. Love your thoughts, your feedback, and be gentle as you kind of go through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Poonacha. So that is really exciting. JIYA is being launched, sort of a soft launch here in Aspen, and we're looking for people, key influencers that would use this app and give us some feedback. And so if you're interested in doing that, you can contact me through the Aspen Yoga Society website, or you can sign up online, which would be more direct.
So gradually this app will help you build your own health and well-being profile, because it gets to know you, and then the content that you get is personalized for you. It's your concierge service and companion.
So Deepak is the co-founder with Poonacha, and I just want to also plug another project that the two of them did together called the waitlistproject.org. If you can put that in your data bank up there and look at the video when you get home, it's one of the most remarkable projects that these two have also worked on. So we're going to take some questions for the last 10 minutes, and make sure you find the microphone. And where are the people with the microphones? So on either side, some beautiful women with microphones. So find them or raise your hand and stand up, and I will call on you. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts about the future of well-being? And please keep it brief, as we have just a moment. So right here in the black, just stand up. If you're picked, stand up so they can find you. Thank you.
Hi, thank you all for such an enlightening discussion. You referenced earlier that there's some diet changes that were helping the leaky gut syndrome. So if you would take a moment to expand on that, I think
So
we'd
the
all
diet
love that.
changes that help the leaky gut syndrome, preferably a plant-based diet. If you're eating meat or poultry or fish, make sure it comes from, it's not factory produced with hormones and antibiotics. And now there's a lot of information on what are called adaptogens. These are herbs that modulate the stress response in your body, like Indian gooseberry or amlaki and many others, which we are being identified. There are also oils that you can take that actually soothe the microbiome, so it becomes less inflamed. So there are lots of herbs, oils, and we also know that if there's fiber in your diet, or you can actually take fiber as part of the whole thing with the oils, then the good bacteria like the fiber, and they are called prebiotics. They become probiotics. So there's many things you can do. Also massage, by the way, it because your skin and your gut has the highest concentration of these microbiome, the bacterial colony, which is 90% of our DNA. Even things like massage and moods are influenced by this microbiome. The traffic, as I said, from your gut to your brain is actually 10 times more than from your brain to your gut. When you change the diet, your mood improves. Your mood improves, your peptides go up, it immunomodulates. So now we can no longer make a distinction between the mind, the brain, the genome, the epigenome, and the microbiome. It's all one holistic system.
Is it on your website, the wisdom that you've just shared? She's wondering where she can connect with.
Yeah, it's on blogs and websites. There's a lot of information there, but we're going to actually put this into practical terms through the technology that we're using.
Get on JIYA, and it'll be
So
there.
I was telling Poonacha, you should say, what's your goal for well-being? And then we should respond to you,
That's
rather
great.
than telling you what we think you should be doing.
That sounds good. That's empowering. Lynn?
Tagging along on that question, we talk about good health and ingesting, eating things. What about our skin? Our skin is one of the largest organisms in our body. It is. And we put chemicals on it. We think we're doing something well by using sunscreen, but the chemicals in the sunscreen are just
We are
so
working with a beauty expert, a skin expert, Kimberly Snyder, whose focus is on the skin, inner beauty, outer beauty, and all the things that we can do in terms of oils, nutritions, supplements, and hydration. So there's a lot, and you're right about the skin. The skin has, it's called the neuroectoderm. So your skin comes from the same germ layer as your brain. When you take care of your skin, you take care of your moods as well, and you modify and modulate the immune system.
Excellent. Does anyone have a question about yoga? No. Front row here. Wait for the microphone.
It's not really yoga. It's more about meditation. So same vein. I'm just starting that, and I'm not really sure what's the right amount of time that you reap the most benefits.
Okay, the TM organization did a lot of research 30 years ago, and their formula was 20 minutes twice a day. We've been looking at this, and it's even 15 minutes twice a day. If you say, I don't have the time to meditate once a day, then you should be doing it twice a day, okay? Because you're the one who needs it. Now, we offer free online meditation. If you go to chopracentermeditation.com, in partnership with Oprah, who has helped us spread the word, we have now 3.6 million people online who have meditated with us. And we actually did one meditation that 150,000 people were together online meditating. And that's now in the Guinness Book of Records. July 11th, we are doing a similar event. So again, if you go to chopracentermeditation.com, but at the very least, by the way, how many people have done the 21-day meditation experience? So there's one coming up right now on gratitude, grace, and compassion. It's free. And you can go online and you can learn to do the meditation at your convenience when you want. And the link is chopracentermeditation.com. You need it twice a day.
Those are amazing resources that are free. So right here in the third row, if we can just get a mic. Next.
Right here.
Okay, given that 70% of the people don't sleep well naturally, what can we do to sleep better? I mean, sometimes I go to bed and my mind continuously races. So what can we do to improve our sleep?
There's a whole world called sleep hygiene, and if you went online and searched that, and it provides lots of behavioral techniques that are really, really effective. And some of them are very simple. Yeah, not eating too late, not watching TV too late, is to wind down all the stimulation, including the mental activity. You know, having your room dark, making sure, because even just small amounts of light in your room interfere with the whole melatonin pathway being activated and interrupts your sleep and your dreaming cycle. And so there are ways to do it. And I would recommend looking at that resource. Meditation, of course, is another excellent way because it just helps reduce the activation of the nervous system in our mind and helps us settle down and remove anxiety.
I had one formula that I used to use and still use. Try not to sleep. So I'm going to stay awake tonight and see what happens.
Or I have a suggestion, just hang out with Deepak Chopra for a couple days, and by the time you get to bed, you'll be really, really, really tired. This guy has a lot of energy, as do these two. We have time for one more question. Anybody in the back? I can barely see you, but straight back there. Yeah, behind our camera guy. Got to get the guys in the back row. If I was a rock star, I would totally be connecting with you guys back there, just because you're important too.
So the more we use technology to interfere with our food, the sicker we've become. And then we've used technology to make sure that we're never hungry or we're never cold. And now it becomes all the rage, and we know it's beneficial to do intermittent fasting because it's actually good to be hungry, even though we spent all this time making sure that we were never hungry. And then I'm surrounded by people here who are using their phones, and actually, you know, the more we introduce technology, actually the worse we are at like connecting with the people around us. And then there's a rapidly increasing body of evidence which suggests that electromagnetic fields, so the Bluetooth on your Fitbit or the Wi-Fi that connects you to the cloud, has a number of potentially detrimental effects, particularly on the brain. So my philosophical question is, do we need less technology rather than more in order to achieve well-being?
I want to just clarify, did you say people were using their phone while we were speaking up here?
No, pointing no fingers.
Okay.
So here's the answer to your question. First of all, technology is unstoppable. So even if everything you said was true, we can't stop the train of technology. It's part of our evolution as a human species. And if you think only in terms of Darwinian adaptation, those who adapt will survive, those who don't, well, Darwin will take care of them. It's unstoppable. Secondly, technology is your servant, not your master. Technology is neutral. You decide what you do with technology. You know, you can use I can use technology to interfere with a pacemaker or a respirator, or cause a nuclear plant to leak, interfere with air traffic signals. Technology is diabolical if you want to make it. But technology could also be healing. But you are the one in charge, not technology.
Thank you to Deepak, Poonacha, and Paul for this wonderful and enlightening panel. Thank you to all of you for coming tonight.